Beyond Good and Evil is a game that I know only from reputation. This is an example of a game that was considered a commercial failure at launch, but has grown a cult following. Being a Nier fan, I'm open to those type of games. Unlike Nier Gestalt though, this game has far less obvious blemishes, unless you're considering the technical ones that I encountered, but I'd put that on me. I've told myself I'd give this game a try one day, just based on the positive sentiment I've encountered about it. An action-adventure game from 2003 isn't exactly something I would typically consider up my alley, but after playing this game, that might just be the fact that I don't know myself as well as I thought I did. I really enjoyed Psychonauts, and that was a platformer that was nearly as old. The too long didn't watch version is that I thoroughly enjoyed this game. I found it to be incredibly charming, and in spite of my difficulties getting it to run properly and record it, once I started, I basically didn't put it down. At this point, I should acknowledge my footage. It won't take a keen-eyed viewer to see that my footage has a pretty vast assortment of strange visual glitches. The Good Old Games PC version of this game comes with a pre-installed fan patch to get it to run properly. There is a particular feature that causes these strange glitches, hardware vertex processing. And unfortunately, with this feature turned off, I couldn't get this game to run at a proper speed. I also discovered that animations were tied to frame rate, so my initial start had the cutscene way ahead of the audio. Based on some forums, this game was originally optimized for Radeon cards, and Nvidia might have some issues rendering certain game features as well. And times have changed. Also, before any know-it-all jumps in the mix, I forced anti-aliasing off in the control panel. I'm sure there's something I could have done to fix it, or maybe play a console version of the game, but I just wanted to get the dang thing rolling. I considered trying to use another creator's footage for once, since my own might be very distracting. I've decided against that. I think it's actually a point that stands pretty strongly in the game's favor, that I persevered and beat the game in spite of these strange visual glitches. If they bother you as a viewer, then consider this a podcast and listen along and ignore it if you wish. There were some weird things that popped up in this game. I'm not gonna sort through them and find them, but if I find some in the editing where I have like a random ghost on the screen, or sometimes there's weird letters, you know, just my audience has stomached a totally audio glitched version of Near Replicant video though, so you bunch have a tough stomach. Absolute legends. With that nonsense out of the way, this will be a narration of that playthrough. The whole story along with my thoughts of the moment-to-moment gameplay. You get it, you're a smart group. The intro sets up that this planet Hillis is at war with a species called the Doms. It cuts to our protagonist Jade as an attack shatters the peace of the planet. She turns on a shield for her lighthouse before it shuts itself down due to lack of payment. The Doms rain down like asteroids. Right out the gate, I was feeling the tunes. Jade has a stick and is adept at the martial art of hit things with stick. Comes down to hit them and roll. It's simple, but it works. When she knocks out one of the creatures, she is capable of freeing the abductee that was absorbed. In the lull of the battle, she is suddenly scooped away from below by one of the creatures. It stares her in the eyes and calls to her in some kind of alien language, and she shows some signs of recognition before losing consciousness. Luckily, her friend Paige shows up to free her. She defeats this creature with a charged attack, summoning some kind of energy that is not explained. When defeated, the creature leaves behind a pearl. Paige proclaims that they can use the pearl to fix the hovercraft. The importance of pearls as a currency will be explained later. Now that they're safe, the alpha sections that were mentioned briefly in the opening cinematic appear to help. The reporter from the game's opening is now propping up the importance of these defenders, and Paige jumps in to put them in their place.
Parents have been captured by the Doms.
Have been taken in by two devoted and courageous Hylians. Miss, a word for our listeners.
Yeah, well, you guys are not what I'd call as fast as a speeding bullet. Keep doing nothing, and next time, there'll be nothing left here to save.
Cut! Hey, Pop, stay zen. Don't get your snout bent out of shape.
This scares off the reporter and the alpha sections. They're here for good PR, obviously, and this clearly isn't the place for it. Suddenly, Jade loses consciousness. She awakens in the comfort of her bed, surrounded by her friends. Paige and Jade now have to deal with the realization that they're short on the credits they need to pay for the power. Their lighthouse needs a shield to protect it against future invasions. Now her friend Secundo comes out with a hologram in her bag. He tells her that he has a way for her to make some fast cash. The Science Center is paying for photographs of the different species on the planet. For the entirety of the game, this is the easy way to make some cash. Every time you encounter a new creature type, you could take a photo and send it in to make some money. When I played Metroid Prime, I was obsessed with scanning everything in the environment, and this scratches a similar itch. In regards to the hologram friend in Jade's bag, they never go too in-depth clarifying, but he can digitize items Jade picks up, so that her bag is essentially a bag of holding. He will assure she never runs into the most dreaded of foes, the inventory limit. He will later undigitize himself and make himself useful in person, and I don't understand those mechanics, but it isn't important. Don't linger on it too much, in spite of the fact that I clearly have. Exploring around the lighthouse, you can hear the propaganda machine running non-stop on the radio, assuring the people that the alpha sections are protecting their safety, although their message might be undercut by replaying Paige berating them. These children are all orphans, and they're being sheltered in the lighthouse. Paige and Jade have become their protectors. To do that effectively, this building needs some shields. Jade takes some photos of bugs and an armadillo, and Secundo sends the money to Optima Service. The shields are back and the children are safe again. For now. Paige beckons as there is a new mission for Jade. For now though, I walked around and explored our little island. Even with the strange visual glitches occasionally popping up, this art style really holds up. The simplicity of the art style really did it some favors considering this game is nearing 20. Obviously, art is subject to taste, so I'll leave that to see how it strikes your palate. I mean, this is going to be a long-ass video. You got plenty of time to watch. Decide if you like it. Inside Paige's workshop, he shows Jade that there's an M-disc awaiting her with mission details on it. These M-discs will be found throughout the game and can have mission details or just be messages bearing news. The M-disc decoder machine also doubles as a space to save your progress. Remember when the idea of data on a disc seemed so futuristic and space age? Simpler times.
Thanks to the courageous efforts of the Alpha sections, the catastrophe was avoided. Hello, miss. I've been commissioned by Mr. de Castellac. This war is a catastrophe for us all. Mr. de Castellac would like to entrust a very delicate mission to you. If you accept, please make your way as soon as possible to the ancient mine on Black Isle located on the other side of town. Having completely understood the enormous risks involved, Mr. de Castellac plans to reward you generously. See you soon.
Paige has some sort of recognition and advises Jade to avoid Mr. de Castellac, but Secundo reminds her just how much they need the money. Paige reluctantly agrees, but he's gonna come to protect her. We have to get to the mine at the Black Isle, but first, they gotta get the hovercraft in working order. After charging up the batteries, they get the craft out in the water. For a little while, anyhow.
Well, that's it. Finito. Dead.
Oh, stupid tugboat! And the garage is only 300 meters away.
Mama go garage, you know. Where your mama won't go, you know. Come mama go garage. And so, hey man, what seems to be the problem? I'll go ahead and tow you to the Mama Go garage. Mama Go!
Hey, it works!
Yeah, works to sucker in the client, all right.
Mamago Garage is one of my favorite places in the game for no other reason than the music is the absolute jam. Mamago Garage was hit in the last attack by the Doms, and it gave them a bit of a sunroof. These friendly faces will assist you throughout the game. When you do side quests or even main missions, you'll find pearls like you did in the opening. You could trade those pearls to these Rasta rhinos for upgrades to your vehicles. Thankfully, you can trade your pearl for a new motor for your hovercraft. Paige seems to be deeply uncomfortable with being bailed out by any other mechanic. Once the craft is fixed and you're back out on the water, you're attacked by another minion of the Doms. Even with keyboard and mouse controls, I was genuinely appreciative to have these vehicle segments to break up the gameplay. I found this game to be fairly easy, and this vehicular combat segment is not exempt from that critique, but it also doesn't mean I didn't find it enjoyable. When the creature is destroyed, it leaves behind a pearl in its wake for you. You're reminded that you have a mission on Black Isle, and you're free to move about the cabin. If you choose to visit the city, Jade will remark that it too was damaged by one of the Dom's meteors in the recent attack. The so-called alpha sections have been talked up by the media at this point, but you have yet to see them earn their keep. The representative of Mr. de Castellac is waiting for Jade at Black Isle. He reveals that he believes that the alpha sections have been hiding the truth, that the Dom's monsters are already in every corner of the planet, and he wants to pay her for a picture of a pair of monsters in the mine on Black Isle. The people have to know the scope of this invasion. Jade confidently accepts the job. Once Paige and Jade are at the entrance of the mine, Paige reveals a project he's been working on.
Now may be a good time to show you my latest invention. 2 years of work under the utmost secrecy. The outcome of a life's work. My little marvels, the jet boots. They run on homemade biocarburet. Here's the pocket of pressurized methane. And here, in the soles, are the 2 turbo reactors. All you have to do to fire them up is contract your abdominal muscles. It's the transportation of the future. I'm waiting for your signal, Jade. And there you have it.
Cool.
That's a lot of work to get to a fart joke, but I respect it. Now is the time I can share a very peculiar compliment. You might almost miss me requesting Paige to use his boots to boost me up on this ledge. During this game, you will almost always have a companion at your side. These companions have abilities that Jade does not. It might just be me being a negative Nancy, but I anticipated the worst here. A 2003 game with a constant companion seemed like a recipe for disaster, but I was never waiting due to bad pathfinding of the AI. If I needed someone to pull a lever, I would just press the interact button and the companion would press it for me. Here, early on, Paige can use his rocket boots to butt bounce, and this can have assorted effects like launching these water balloon things out of their holes, or he can knock enemies in the air. Long story short, the mechanics in the game function as one would hope, and that is noteworthy as modern games have many more shortcomings that I've encountered in similar scenarios. I think I played too many hours of Siege to have any level of confidence in Ubisoft games. Oh, and also it should be noted that you can hit your companions, but you cannot damage them. That decision was wise. The character interactions amuse me. I was again taken aback by just how many voice lines of dialogue this game featured, considering its age and genre.
Thanks, Jade. If it weren't for you, I think that...
Don't mention it, you old fart. Let's get a move on. I got a feeling the best is to come.
Eventually, the pair make it to the end of the tunnels and find their mark. Yeah, it turns out those creatures were more than meets the eye. Sadly, they were not robots in disguise. Paige can butt stomp this guy on the dome and stun it for Jade, and she could take some pot shots. After a few of these cycles, it'll change its pattern and start attacking from the top. After you dodge his foul breath, you can go back to the whack-a-mole formula. He rises up and appears to be reaching his ultimate form before crashing to the floor. Jade thinks that something is fishy about this so-called Mr. de Castellac. Her presumptions are correct. The associate reveals his true nature. Ah, Mr. de Castellac was actually Mr. de Hoopty. This was just a test to see what she was made of. The truth is that his name is Han, and he works for the Iris Network. The alpha sections can be heard demonizing the Iris network on loudspeakers all throughout the world. Jade is not too keen on getting involved with someone not aligned with the alpha sections, but Han tells her that the alpha sections are not what they appear to be. They capture 10 for every one that they save. If Han can be believed, this is all an elaborate ruse to fool the population of Hillis. Iris has a plan, and that's to reveal the truth of the conspiracy to the people so they might rebel. That is the only hope for the people of Hillis. He tells her that if she wants to help, then she needs to ask for peepers at the Akuda bar.
Did you say peepers?
Mm-hmm. At the Akuda bar. Be sure to remember the password. Safe and sound in its shell, the precious pearl is the slave of the currents.
Security measure?
Discretion is the key. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot your reward. Hope to see you soon, Miss Jade.
So, just what does Miss Jade think about all this hoopnanny?
If there's a way to stop this war, we can't let it pass us by.
You're left at your own discretion on how to proceed. You can go directly to Akuda bar or explore around. I meandered along the pedestrian path and tested out my new password unsuccessfully a few times. I found a merchant on the street who was selling pearls. I didn't know what would come my way, but I figured out at this point pearls were going to be a hot commodity at some point. I was right. The pedestrians are mostly pretty positive about the alpha sections at this point, but we can change that sentiment, can't we? Inside the bar, you're directed to the second floor to find peepers. The barkeeper also advises Jade there's a treasure trove on top of the volcano. This is something that would become pertinent much later. Much like Mama Goes, the bar tunes are straight bops. I tried to play this air hockey game and quickly lost a bit of money. But I mean, check out this tune.
Go! You lose!
The soundtrack is nothing but good stuff. I'll let you catch the vibes of the bar music while we move forward. Seriously, this is good if repetitive music. At least I could say I never got tired of it, that's for sure. Upstairs you can meet Peepers, who's running a classic shell game. If you can keep track, he'll direct you to room 3 and give you a password. This game has a love affair with passwords and items with important information on them. You'll often get an email or an item with relevant passwords written on them, and then you subsequently have to manually enter that combination in. Even with a controller, you can quickly navigate these menus. This password system's super well thought out and is way faster than having to type in combos manually. Again, this is a strange compliment, but these are things that I can't help but recognize. So Jade unlocks the door and finds a secret door inside the small apartment that leads to Iris HQ. Han shows off his fellow conspirators, including operatives from all over the universe and 13 different systems. This is not a small-time operation, in spite of its meager appearances. A Dom's bomb has gone off in the canal, and the area was sealed off by the Alpha sections. Jade assumes that this is to take care of the people and is quickly corrected by Hans. No hospital has received any wounded. Something is going on. The governor has decided to help, but has to do so discreetly as her office is under surveillance. The Iris members give Jade the straight dope. The citizens are captured by the Doms and Alpha sections, taken to the nutripills factory, where they are next shuttled to the old slaughterhouses, only to eventually be taken to the moon on military cruisers. They have this intel from people on the inside, but they've yet to get the exact details on what these prisoners go through. 4 days ago, one of their agents on the inside went missing. They need Jade to take over this mission. Her task will be to take photos from inside the nutripills factory to prove to the citizens what has been transpiring. Of course, Jade agrees, but first she needs a code name. She quickly decides on the code name of Shawnee. In fact, she is almost prepared to give this name as though it was premeditated. I will continue to refer to her as Jade, but let it be noted that her cohorts at Iris and the governor will henceforth refer to her as Shawnee. This is your setup for the rest of the game. Iris will give Jade a task. She will set forth to accomplish that task, where you will take on a self-contained area. After that point, you will be free to return to Iris or take on assorted side activities. Before we get to the real meat of the story, I want to talk about some of those activities. Before checking out the nutripills factory, I took a bit of a detour to the raceway. I was playing on a keyboard and mouse, and I was pretty sure I was going to get dominated in these races. To my surprise, the hovercraft handles pretty well, even with the keyboard controls, and I was able to win my first couple races. Again, the music is the tits. The races have that old school hype man commentating.
The whips, the weak, and the wusses still have 3 more seconds to get the hell out of here and back to your knitting!
I've tried to play modern racing games, but they lack an arcadey charm of the games I played in my youth. Any of y'all play Wave Race 64? The hype man commentator really creates a special alchemy with the arcadey controls to maximize enjoyment. When this game released, every game had some kind of arcadey racing or driving feature to play around with. I have a hypothesis that with the advent of the more realistic physics and graphics, these features fell out of favor as people like me don't want to drive a realistic car. I mean, there's an audience for that. But for me, I drive a real car. I want to ride around in a hovercraft or a jet with fast and fluid controls. I think the realism from games snatched some of the old-timey fun of these more silly and contrived sequences. In a more realistic and modern game in this setting, the racing sequences would feel really out of place. That isn't to say that the newer and more realistic features were a total detriment to gaming, and that isn't my contention. This game returned me to a simpler time though, and I appreciated it. Winning these races will reward you with another pearl. I promise you that I'll speak more on the pearls, but just be patient. Around the world map, you can find these looter caverns. Upon entering them, a looter will steal some of Jade's credits, and she has to chase them to the end. If she's too slow, a gate will close down, and they'll escape. You can immediately reattempt these challenges, and your lost currency is very minimal. If you do succeed in your chase, you can destroy the looter's vehicle, and you're rewarded with currency, and, you guessed it, a pearl. These side activities are far from revolutionary and the controls are all simple. I've been dancing around it at this point. This game's pretty easy. Now I'm always the first to admit how bad I am at games, in spite of my love for them. I nonetheless challenge myself to playing a lot of difficult games, and I find enjoyment in that challenge. But I have to admit the satisfaction I derive from effortlessly making it through this journey. Some might find that simplicity and the lack of challenge as a hindrance to their enjoyment, and that's fine. But man, I gotta recommend taking a breather every once in a while with a nice, easy breezy playthrough of something. Not every game needs to be a tooth and nail Souls-like challenge. At least for me, it was a breath of fresh air. The trip to the nutripills factory was a trip through alpha-controlled waters. That means an upgrade to the hovercraft will be necessary to pass. Luckily, Mamagos has a neutralizing cannon for the cost of 5 pearls. See, I knew what I was doing getting all that side stuff done. After leaving with her shiny new hovercraft, Jade is attacked by even more Doms. Now you have the ability to lock on, which is handy, but for some reason it allows you to lock onto friendly Hylian vessels as well. Rip the random cargo vessels that got in my way. Seriously, I destroyed a concerning amount of civilian ships. The Doms were easy enough to take out though, and thankfully it doesn't appear you're scored for friendly fire, so I moved along to the factory. At the entrance, there's a code that Jade can take a picture of and send to the governor. Her people will decipher this code and send it back to her to gain access. I told you, they love their codes in this game. Listen to this little ditty that plays upon successful entry to the facility. Dude, there is something about a good jingle when you do a task. It just hits. Inside the factory, it's time to do some sleuthing. The security system entails electrified barriers that can be bypassed by doing some of the old push the box maneuver. Remember when every game had the push the box puzzles? Here's a trope I have less positive memories of. But there are only a few here, and thankfully you aren't forced to push them far. They have the old-timey laser traps at their disposal. Catherine Zeta-Jones, she dips beneath lasers. Oh. There are also security bots that have to be fought off. These droids are the ones you're looking for, because they can be knocked into the electrical barriers to disable them. Basically, they have all the manner of typical spy stuff to bypass. On top of that, they have something called a Reaper to be worried about.
A Reaper? They're sicking a Reaper on us. Looks like he's on the prowl. He must keep an eye on the ducks. It's getting too risky, Jade. We're needed back at the lighthouse. Let's stop while we still can.
If the Iris network is telling the truth, then this is where we're needed most.
After taking the service elevator, Jade stumbles on the lost operative from Iris. She sends this evidence straight to the governor, who gives Jade the passcode to a nearby locker, which unlocks a gyro launcher that Jade can use to free him from his torment. This is also the first step in proving what's going on with the Dom's operation on Hillis.
You alright?
They turned my brain to jelly.
Are you our contact? Are you Double H?
Not sure.
Does the Iris mean anything to you?
Listen here, Miss Thyris.
Jade. My name is Jade. And I haven't the foggiest how we're gonna get out of here.
For that, I may be of some assistance there.
So you are Double H?
Double H, triple Z, whatever pleases you, don't ask me. All I know is that in another 10 minutes, I was a goner. I owe you my life.
Hence, you can count on me, Miss Thyris.
Jade. My name is Jade.
At your service, Miss Jade Thyris!
I really love the voice acting in this game. It just oozes charm.
No good.
Oh yeah, it's all coming back to me now. In boot camp, we learn never to try and bust through more than 8 inches of steel.
Paige had the jet boots that were handy for Jade, but Agent Double H has a hard head that can knock through blocked off areas. It's more handy than you'd think. Well, now that we have Double H, things are heading in the right direction until the Reaper drops down and abducts Paige. This is the time to bust out the new gyro launcher you just got to shoot the Reaper from afar until you can get close to bash him. Jade eventually knocks him into the pit below and rescues Paige yet again. There was a room that had me stumped before with a broken electrical line running to the door. With the gyro launcher, you can now knock the ceiling fan to carry the charge to the door. Another example of a very simple puzzle, but actually, it's dumb how much I appreciated that. Inside is a couple of fuses that Paige needs to restart an elevator in the main room. Some dumb robots are there to obstruct your path, but they're no worries. With the fuses in hand, the pig can get the elevator running. Before the pair can make their way up, though, Paige wants to give something to Jade.
This doesn't look very good.
By the way, Jade, here, this came for you the other day. Better have a look at it.
Why didn't you tell me sooner? It's probably a mission.
Yeah, probably. Sorry. But with everything going on lately...
At the top of the elevator, they're confronted by more of the Dom's forces that invaded the lighthouse at the beginning of the game. Jade is capable and fights them off. Paige waits behind while she scouts ahead. There's a full-on X-ray room with Alpha forces on site. She works her way back to Paige, but it's too late. The Alphas have Paige now. She has no choice but to continue forward into the factory because she is not leaving Paige behind. Every one of these boxes running through this factory contains a citizen that's been abducted. She takes her first photo with proof of the Alpha Section's foul play. Truthfully, this picture is enough for me to condemn the Alphas. They're dudes right next to containers with x-rays of the box contents. Let's just say the population of Hillis really needs convincing. Once you find an M-Disk reader, you can access what Paige gave you shortly before his kidnapping.
Jade, you inherited generosity and courage from your parents. You know, I think about them a lot. We were very close friends. 20 years ago, we were forced to separate because we were all having some major problems with the authorities. Your parents put you under my care to save your life. We came to Hillis. Back then, it was a peaceful planet. I had hoped to raise you there safely, but the conflict spread. Now, you must know something. If I was able to get here, it was thanks to the Beluga, the spaceship that I designed and built with your father. It still exists, but I haven't exactly finished getting it back in top shape. You'll find the checkup report on my desk. The Beluga is at our place. You have to enter a code into each one of the consoles to open the secret hiding place. I can't say any more on this M-Disk about it, but I hope this information will be useful to you if, one day, you have to use the Beluga. No matter what happens, good luck, Jade. Uncle Paige.
There's no time to linger on Paige's message for Jade. She has to work deeper into the factory to find him. Double H meets up with Jade and tells her that he too is infiltrating the place alongside her. He will meet up down the road. Now the work of sneaking around Alpha Section's guards can officially begin. They have lights on their heads that clearly delineate their cone of vision. If Jade is caught or defeated, then you'll have to restart the section immediately with 4 hearts of health. Basically, there isn't much consequence for failing. I won't elaborate too much on the ins and outs of getting past a great number of these guards, but you can assume for the remainder of the game that if there are Alpha Sections in an area, Jade is sneaking around them. And you've played a game before, you understand how sneaking works. You can also shoot them in the tanks on the back of their outfits, and that will nullify them. But it will also alert any other nearby members, so stealth is really the way to go. In one of the back rooms, Jade finds Paige's boots. Jade says that Paige was very attached to them and never let her look at them. Noted. In the very depths of the factory, Jade can catch a glimpse of the Alphas in their true form, along with Paige being taken in a container to board a ship. If there was any doubt that the Doms and the Alphas were working together, that doubt is now erased. The Doms leader takes control of a giant robot and attacks Jade. Thankfully, Double H has arrived just in time to help.
Hey, what the heck is this thing?
His super move knocks the robot off balance, and it's the only way to defeat the creature. Well, now, Jade has another pearl to add to her collection. Sadly, she wasn't quick enough to save Paige, but the Iris network has the intel that the people are next taken to the slaughterhouse. She needs to get back to them to make the next plan. Time to get the hell out of here.
It works. Double H!
Miss Jade, oh, this thing is eating up my insides. I can't hold out much longer. The boys from Iris, they might be able to do something to help me. It's my only hope. Get me back to Iris. I'm begging you. I can't breathe, Miss Jade. I'm connecting to my auxiliary circuits, but they won't hold out very long.
Now Jade is tasked with getting back to Iris HQ with a 5-minute countdown rolling. I made the cut on this timer pretty dangerously close, as I wasn't as familiar with the map as perhaps I thought. Thankfully, Iris has an antidote for what ails him, but this also triggers some kind of vision in Jade with the DOMs. They assure Jade that Double H will be back on his feet in no time, and they plead with her to move on to investigate the slaughterhouses. Her work documenting the nutripills factory has stirred some of the locals, and they need further evidence to fully prove the extent of their wrongdoings. The people have donated some pearls to the Iris cause now, and Jade can take those, and they will become very valuable almost immediately. As Jade starts to take her lead, Agent Double H stops her.
WWTAO. We work together as one.
Carlson and Peters, page 823.
Yeah, I didn't mention it before, but he has this Carlson and Peters handbook that is a sort of Hillian army book, and he uses it as some sort of Bible. He quotes from it at random intervals as long as he is in Jade's company, and I love it. No, I love him. So Double H is back on the dream team. Outside of the bar, a small contingent of protesters are picketing the Alpha sections based on Jade's excellent undercover reporting. News is spreading, slowly, but it's spreading. So we have to get to the slaughterhouse. There's a small situation here. Alpha sections have buoyed off the area. In order to pass, the hovercraft needs to be upgraded in order to jump the cordoned off area. That's right, it's another trip to Mama Goes. Thankfully, with those pearls from the citizens combined with the small excursions, we've done enough to accumulate enough pearls to pay for the upgrade. Thanks, Mama Goes. Now you can hop the barrier, but you just can't walk through the front door into the slaughterhouses. Legend has it that there's a secret entry point in one of the slaughterhouse races. Instead of following my main task, I did some more racing. For science.
The whips, the weak, and the wusses still have 3 more seconds to get the hell out of here and back to your knitting!
I may have gotten a little carried away since the 4th race was actually challenging me a little bit. There were moments where I would forget about the strange glitches that were occurring on screen, but during the racing segments the UI would make me stroke out for a second occasionally. I got my W though, and the Pearl of Victory. I almost started to leave after winning before remembering my main task was actually inside the raceway. There's a secret tunnel that has to be hopped through. I struggled to hop through it even once I found it. The Slaughterhouse Road is a pretty dope chase sequence. Security robots are shooting at you while you jump over gaps. Basic, but fun stuff. The path leads to a canal system at the base of the slaughterhouse. This gives you as the player options as to what to tackle next. Open world this is not, but it does allow you to achieve your objectives in any order you choose. There are 3 different viewpoints in different locations that Jade has to take pictures of. One path takes you to the East Wing. This area appears like a large security checkpoint and is filled to the brim with Alpha sections. Again, this is a lot of sneaking around from room to room, or in my case, getting caught being too bold and running back to the last room to reset the Alpha section's goldfish-like attention spans. Eventually, the path leads to the Alphas standing guard over the Dom sarcophagi like protectors. Tisk tisk. The people are not gonna like that. The dangers in the North Wing tend to be more of the laser gate and robot variety. Still, Alpha section roamers, but they're more broken up by simple puzzle solving. And Alpha is standing on this platform. I can do this.
I'm under fire! Ah!
You get it. That kind of stuff. The end of the path on the North Wing bears proof of the scale of the human trafficking going on, as the containers are loaded into ships headed for the moon. The central hall has a series of lasers that are on timers. As an undercover operative that worked with the Alphas, Double H can walk through these lasers with his armor. The trick is to have him time a button press and then have Jade navigate the lasers. Catherine Zeta-Jones dips beneath lasers. Oh. I don't even know if anyone will get that reference, but I'm leaving it in. The end of the Central Hall path shows some kind of experiments going on with the citizens. With all that information sent directly to the governor, she will now send you a code to the slaughterhouses. Jade and Double H have got to get out of here and stop whatever's happening at the moon base. Exiting the property puts the pair immediately back in danger. One of the Dom's creatures is mid-attack again. This is no more challenging than the first time, however. In the pedestrian district outside of the bar, there are more people picketing the Alphas now.
Murderers! Alpha Section's murderers!
Word is getting out. Inside the den, the governor awaits Jade. She thanks Jade for her services and gives her a key that gives her access to some areas that were previously restricted. Their conversation is interrupted by an emergency distress signal.
The chief, he's alive! It's incredible!
Your chief? Had he disappeared?
Taken by the Alpha sections. We haven't heard anything from him for weeks.
Wild boar calling Iris! Wild boar calling Iris!
Hey, that's my uncle! Paige!
Your uncle? Our chief?
He communicates with you by radio?
Security measure. Until now, nobody knew his real identity.
Paige! Is that you?
He can't hear you, Jade. Quiet, everyone. He'll call back. Don't make a sound.
Wild boar calling Iris! I don't have much time. They're everywhere. They've taken me to the moon. Here are my instructions. Get this message to Jade, your new reporter. Read the M disc that I gave you and find the ship. Read the M disc and find the... They're coming! Ah!
So yeah, it's time to find the beluga. Iris is asking a simple task of Jade.
That's an excellent plan. You find Paige's ship. You go to the moon. You wrap up your report. You take control of the transmitter. You broadcast the report. The population rises up.
And that's the end of the Alpha sections.
Can you imagine sending a war reporter on such a mission? It just cracks me up. Luckily, she'll have some help on the upgrades front. The people have chipped in with the surplus of pearls. Iris's message has been spreading thanks to Jade. So, it's ship time. What the hell did he say about where he hid it? Let me just break down the task. Back at the lighthouse, there are panels hidden that require codes. Remember when we found Paige's boots? He had the codes written on the heels. Once Jade enters the codes, she can press a button in Paige's workshop. This reveals a once hidden treasure. The flames of excitement are quickly extinguished when it's revealed that it isn't flight ready. An M-disc describes that it needs a stabilizer and an interstellar motor. I wonder where one would go to find such things.
Ha ha ha! They always come back to Mama Goes!
The citizens' generosity goes a long way, and just purely off of those pearls, you can fix the flight stabilizer. Unfortunately, the interstellar motor requires a hefty sum of 30 pearls. Jade can at least return and fix the flight stabilizers, though. Back at the lighthouse, Jade doesn't have much time to rejoice in her success with the beluga. I'll let this cutscene play out uninterrupted.
Poor Wolf. I know how you are. You tried to help them. You told yourself that you wouldn't let them come to any harm. That you'd be there to protect them. I know, boy. But that isn't what actually happened. The kids are gone. And you couldn't do anything. You're here, alive and well. Who do you think you are? Did you think you'd actually be able to make a difference? Well, Wolf, you were wrong, boy. Completely and utterly wrong. There's nothing anyone can do. There's nothing anyone can do.
We must go now, Miss Jade.
It's over, Double H. Finished.
They're still alive, Miss Jade. Paige, the kids, they're all still alive.
The voice acting is really damn good from start to finish in this game. If you don't remember games from this era, I can assure you that voice work like this was definitely the exception and not the rule. This is a tough situation, but Jade perseveres. And now, with the stabilizers on the Beluga, you can fly around Hillis. This means you can adventure to find however many pearls you're lacking to save for the motor. This is a big part of the gameplay loop. In between each story mission, there's some kind of upgrade requiring pearls from the crew at Mama Goes. This is never a painful experience, and I almost always already had the pearls in hand as a generally thorough explorer. I think of the pearl chase as a gentle nudge to get someone to go off the beaten path, rather than exclusively doing main story content. None of the side activities like the racing or the looter's caverns take too long to complete. But if you're lost, there's a person named Ming Su who has a store with an item you can buy that detects pearls on the world map. You can also buy a few pearls directly from the shop as well. There was a treasure trove at the top of the volcano, just as the guy at the bar had told us about early in the game. It's filled with these creatures called Voraxes who have apparently been hoarding these pearls to themselves. They're easily dispatched at this point of the game, but now Jade has the requisite amount of pearls to finally buy that interstellar motor. It's Moonbase time. There are a series of mirror puzzles that really took me back. These were another type of puzzle common in the era. Yeah, I'm aware that I'm sounding like a broken record, but it's worth remarking upon. Well, maybe. Shut up. Redirecting the light to open a path was child's play. Paige is revealed to be in some kind of cocoon, protected by more walls and mirrors. I explored deeper though. I'll be back for Paige soon enough. After a series of strange portals, you can stumble upon the Doms and the leader of the Alpha sections in an ancient temple. It's filled with the captured subjects of Hillis. With this photograph, Jade can finally prove the connection between the Doms and the Alphas. Now all she needs to do is free Paige and get to the Moonbase Command Center to broadcast her message. Now, I don't want to lie to you. I took entirely too long solving this mirror puzzle. Even watching the footage back, I feel slightly frustrated by it. The first outer layer just caused me deep distress. This is no fault of the puzzle, it's my 8 brain that's flawed. I did eventually solve it though.
Okay.
I'll come back for you. I'll bring you back home.
Jade has to broadcast the report, or there'll be more victims like Paige.
Shawnee, it's incredible. We just got an email from the chief. He's alive, Jade, alive!
Paige!
Very sneaky, the whole code under the shoe bit.
You found them? You didn't screw up my settings, I hope.
They're exactly as I found them. Stench and all.
Paige, you were...
Dead, I know. But you saved me. You're the one that brought me back to life. You're not the one you think you are, Jade. There's always been a prodigious energy hidden deep inside you. Now it's coming to the surface, and you're starting to understand it.
Paige, the kids, they...
Yes, I know. Kidnapped too. They've taken them to the Great Crypt. The only way to get there is by using the landing strip. We'll have to come back in the ship, but we can't do anything for them right now. There's too few of us. We need help in order to attack the lunar base in full force.
The only way of obtaining the support of the Hylians is to follow Nino's plan, wrap up the report, and use the long-range transmitter to broadcast it.
Okay, let's get a move on.
Step 1 is taking control of the long-range transmitter on the ship. She hacks into its interface, but she needs a little additional help from a friend to take control from the DOMs, as the DOM system shuts itself down due to the intrusion.
9, 8. No problemo, Jade. I take care of that. 6. Amigos, Segundo el Magnifico is going to show you who is the best. 2, 1. System blocked.
Nice job, Magnifico. More like Secundo el Major Screw-Up, King of the Cretins, Pope of
Silenzio, my little piglet. Look.
Opening system data. Hello, General Secundo. At your service.
I have una amiga who would like to broadcast a little report. Set up an alignment on 21.3, por favor, mia bella.
Yes, sir, General. Data loaded. Broadcasting.
Finally, the citizens of Hylis can see the truth with their very own eyes. The group sends their message. They show all the photos implicating the Alpha sections and clarify the nature of their plot working with the DOMs. I always appreciate when you can see the consequences of your actions in games, and seeing the population of the planet revolt is a fine reward for me. It's time to get the heck back to the Beluga. The final conflict with the Alpha section starts with a space battle. Shoot the glowing red parts until the ship is downed. Then you can infiltrate by hovercraft. The Alpha leader is not remorseful.
What were you hoping for, huh? Everyone you ever loved is already dead. Your mother and father, the pig, and all those little brats. We've sucked them dry of all their fluids so that we could live longer. He's looking for you. He's been on your trail for centuries. Your days are numbered. May the angels of darkness rise to glory.
You get where this is headed. Jade and crew need to get back to the base, but the DOM ships aren't going to let them waltz in. A full-on dogfight ensues. After quite a few of them are destroyed, the people of Hylis send reinforcements to assist. Now the crew can land back on the base and challenge the DOMs in a final battle.
You have finally come back to me. You have served your master well, Johnny. You alone have brought the Hylians to me. They have followed you blindly.
Miss Jade?
Dorthgal Pagan!
Ah! It's a trap! The controls aren't responding anymore!
You are not who you think you are. The pig has hidden your origins from me.
Jade, no! Don't listen to him!
You are the source of my powers, the instrument of my strength. They took you away in the hope of destroying me, but I have survived, feeding me with only the most miserable of sacrifices. They made you human, but you are not like them. You are mine, Shawnee, and I am going to kill the human part of you.
Jade!
Shawnee Dom Yendra!
This twist is not completely out of left field. In the first cutscene of the game, she has some kind of connection with the Doms. When Iris asked for a code name, she immediately came up with the name Shawnee, as though she was prepared for it. Although she is linked to the Doms, she is still Jade, who loves her Uncle Paige and the kids of the lighthouse. She fights back. The Doms try and control her by making copies of Paige and later Double H, but she's strong. She won't be manipulated. For a moment, she looks as though she might lose control, but it's only for a moment. The real strength of her powers are revealed as she sets free all of the citizens that were captured. Jade the Protector has rescued all these victims and revealed her hidden inner power to the world and herself. The game ends on that high note. Well, sort of. This was only one adventure with Jade on Hillis, but as Iris pointed out, they have agents all over the galaxy. There are tons of possibilities of where they could have taken a further story. We have plenty of unknowns that could be fleshed out with Jade's backstory and her powers. There are other exotic locations we could travel to. Ubisoft cut a trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2 years ago, and this game has gone underground. Will it ever get made? More importantly to me, do I trust Ubisoft to make it? How would they squeeze RPG leveling systems and microtransactions into the game's mechanics to ruin it? This is the likely reason we haven't seen it, as I can't imagine they would be happy to release a game that you could only pay for once. If it does release though, I'm intrigued enough to want to play it. There's a bit of magic from this old game that caught me off guard. I really liked the characters and the actual world. The art design was bright and charming in spite of the more rudimentary assets. I think when the voice acting and writing is so clever and quick-witted, it can give more character to the simple models and bring them to life. Double H is constantly spouting, "Page 823, don't break up the team," or some other nonsense from his book. It's quippy dialogue. None of these cutscenes are Kojima length, but they all move the story forward while doing a good job of characterization with economical timing. The gameplay front is also a net positive. I made my appeals about the easy nature of the game and the fact that it has plenty of variety to keep you busy. From the stealth, the combat, capturing the photos of the animals, the racing, flying, or general world traversal, it really does mix it up, and none of these trials overstay their welcome. The map is small by the standards of a modern game, but it's enough to let you stretch your legs and explore and find nooks and crannies filled with pearls or gameplay challenges. I really do think that an alternate reality version of myself would grow up loving these old adventure games, when in this one, I'm only experiencing them as an old-ass man. Now, I don't want to stir up controversy amongst a certain audience, but I want to acknowledge the diversity of the characters in this game. I mean, the diversity is not limited to skin tones, but species as well. There are goat sapiens, a bull bartender, and some kind of literal shark man at a Kuda bar. Hell, Jade's Uncle Paige is a pig man. It might be just my hypersensitivity to the subject, as we just had a midterm election that's responsible for the highest number of female governors elected in our history, but I noticed that the governor who assists Jade is a black female governor, and the thought crossed my mind how progressive that would be at the time of this game's release. This game is not some thought-provoking challenge of conventions. This was not intended as some sort of serious political satire or something. If you're the kind of gamer who hates forced diversity or politics in your games, you will still have nothing to fear here. These characters just happen to be diverse, but they're not at all tokenistic. There wasn't one person who stood out as just being there to fit a bill. It's something that I did notice though. Having characters of a wide demographic is not virtuous just by nature of hitting some quota. The game is not saying, oh, look how many different species and races we've squeezed in. They're just there, living together on the planet, coexisting. That's just the world they live in. Maybe that's why I liked it, and maybe that's why I took note of it. Overall, I'm glad I took a trip back in time and gave an old game with a great reputation a try. I can see its appeal, and I know why people remember it fondly. Now, I too may count myself amongst the folks who evangelize its merits, even if I do so poorly. For someone who makes long-winded YouTube videos, I generally find myself thinking of the best things to say when I'm nowhere near my keyboard or notebook to write it down. Forgive my lack of insights where they're lacking, and forgive my general poor script writing and formatting. I try my best, but I'm years past my sharpest days, and before I started doing this, I hadn't written anything down that wasn't for work in years. Thank all of you who watch this. I really have to thank the small group of you who have subbed or commented in my videos, as having someone to talk to about the games I play has been truly refreshing. I still haven't done anything with my Discord, but it's there if you want to talk to me directly. We're a small group, but I have availability. I appreciate all of you. Have a nice day.
Lost, sweetheart?